All right, here we are back on the Outside 50 podcast with Wayne Kraska and myself, Rick Shaibani. And today our guest is going to be Chris Adams from the DC Footy Club. Chris, good to have you on.
G'day, guys. Thanks very much, Rick and Kraz, for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad you agreed to it. I know Kraz might have had to twist your arm a little bit, but that's okay. And and I don't know if you remember, Chris, but I actually did a little Q&A interview with you for World Footy News back before the International Cup in 2017. So good to reconnect with you again officially. And just give a little intro about yourself, how long you've been in the U.S. and involved with the USAFL.
So I came to the US for grad school. I went to the University of Wisconsin. I arrived about 94. So the league, I think, USAFL got started around 98 or so. And I got involved with the Milwaukee Bombers around 99. So I went up to my first training in Milwaukee, and those guys handed me a bunch of footies and told me to go back to Madison and recruit some guys. I do claim to have helped recruit Jason Becker, so that's all right. So I think my first nationals was in Cincinnati in 99.
Wow, impressive. No, that's great. And when did you move to DC and get involved with the Eagles?
Yeah, so we moved here for work in 2001, and the Eagles. I remember the Eagles pumping us at nationals, and so then I moved in 2001, and we actually hosted nationals in DC in that year. Played for a few years to about 2003, then injuries and age. I'm a lot younger than Kraz, but still.
Yeah, and obviously that was when DC and Baltimore were still officially one team. Regards to like the split, and you guys have a bit of a friendly rivalry going now. How does that really affect trainings and metro games and things like that? Do you guys have a lot of Baltimore suburb guys coming down to DC for training, or vice versa? Because I have family over in the DC area, and I know how it all kind of meshes together in terms of like where people live and how far the commutes are. So do you guys still get a decent amount of overlap, or is Baltimore usually just doing their own thing now?
So the clubs have completely split. We have the Baltimore Dockers, DC Eagles. We have the Richmond Lions coming online, and the Juniors Club, the Washington Juniors as well. So actually, this weekend we're all up in, I guess, the birthplace of the Baltimore Washington Eagles. We're up in Federal Hill in Baltimore, and the 4 clubs were represented, and we're doing a level 2 coaching course. So I think, I'm hopeful that the 4 clubs in the sort of greater DC area can start building a nice working relationship over the next few years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, obviously it's great when you have a bunch of clubs in your backyard that you're friendly with. Obviously in LA, we have the Metro competition, the SoCal Cup, all that good stuff with San Diego and OC. And of course, we also have a few boys up in the Riverside area, which is really good. I think Kraz actually has a couple.
Yeah, Chris, well, one of the main topics I was hoping to touch on for this chat was your involvement in Saturday morning footy, which has been the longest running and consistent junior program we've had in the country. Tell us how you came to get involved in that, and how has it gone? How's it been developed in recent years?
So we started in 2006. My son CJ was 6 years old at the time. And, I realized that I was going to be bringing him up in the US, and I wanted him to love footy like I did and love Carlton like I do. So I realized that the only way to do that was to do it myself, and took the plunge with the help of the Baltimore Washington Eagles, with neighbors and friends. We started in 2006 with, I think we ran 2 sessions, maybe had 15 kids or so. And as you said, we've run it every year since then. We've been, as I think around 2010, we had around 100 kids, and it's sort of come down since then.
How many kids in total do you think have been introduced to Aussie rules in 15 years now?
Yeah, so it's got to be, 500 to 1,000 kids that have come through the program. Not necessarily introduced. In the DC area, we have a lot of families that are rotating through. So they'll be with Foreign Affairs or the Australian military, and they'll be in DC area for maybe 3 years, and so they come through, and I think it's fantastic that we're able to offer them an Auskick program while they're here.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this basically fashioned on the Auskick program in Australia, which is very, very popular?
It is Auskick. We if you came down Saturday morning, and you were familiar with an Auskick program somewhere, it would look pretty much identical. In 2017, I went out to South Melbourne and to Port Melbourne's, both their Auskick programs, and we run it almost identical. We don't have quite the numbers that they have. But it really runs like Auskick, and I did Auskick, or the precursor to Auskick, in the mid '70s, and it pretty much runs like that. The program has improved a lot over the years, but it's a fantastic program, especially for ages 5 to 9. It really, really great. It gets harder as the kids get older.
Yeah. So, Chris, to the best of your knowledge, is this Saturday morning footy program the only one of its kind in the USAFL? Because obviously, it's a challenge to recruit, any USAFL club, but especially with kids who want to be involved. Like, there's usually not a lot of resources for newcomers or for kids to be able to participate simultaneously with an Auskick program or its equivalent. So is this unique in USAFL?
So we have been unique. There have over the years been a few kids programs. Probably the longest running program in North America is actually in British Columbia. So the North Delta Junior AFL runs up there, Mike McFarlane. There has been, last couple of years, a program in Sacramento. So I hope that they're starting to go along. I would encourage all clubs to think seriously about an Auskick program. They are resource intensive in that you have to go out and recruit. It's a different demographic than what you've been used to. But I think there's some huge advantages. I think it's great for the club to be involved and see the kids. The kids love it. They look up to the adults as if they're like superstar sportsmen. So it's really fantastic. And one thing about resources, a club tends to have a lot of players, 20 to 30 who don't have a lot of financial resources. It turns out that parents 30 to 40 have more. So, there's room there for sponsorship opportunities and help to support the adult club as well.
So, Chris, talking about those parents, how much does the program Saturday Morning Footy cost a parent, and how do you fund the rest of the program?
So we don't charge at all for the program. So the program's free to anybody. But what I like to say to the parents is it's free to you, but it's not free to run. So we have to cover our insurance costs. We have to cover our field costs. The thing we've been doing the last few years that seems to have worked pretty well is we create a pack, and that pack we sell for about $35. So the pack has a bag, it has a water bottle, a football, and it's very similar to what you would get in an Auskick program in Australia. And then we ask local organisations like DC Taco to put some coupons in. Last year, the Adelaide Crows were fantastic. They sent us a whole bunch of stuff that we put into the packs. Fremantle Dockers also sent us some stuff that went into the packs. So I think you need something like that when you're offering a program for free. If you could have something like the packs, which you can sell and help support the program, I think it will work. And so far, so good. That's been doing well.
That's fantastic, Chris. And I'm sure parents appreciate not having to spend money straight out the gate, and especially in a sport they probably know nothing about to begin with. Going back a couple of years, I always remember former USAFL president Dennis Ryan was a great exponent of kids footy and was helping to develop kids footy. I know he was in DC. How much of an influence was he on the starting of your program there and for Saturday Morning Footy?
So when we started in 2006, Dennis was one of the leaders of the Baltimore Washington Eagles. So he and the bishops, Matt Bishop and Amy Bishop, were really, really helpful in getting the program going. For me personally, the thing that Dennis did was he helped sort of mentor me, sort of taught me how to coach the kids. So I worked with him. The other person I got a lot of help from was Mark Wheeler. Mark Wheeler had been president of the USAFL and had moved back to Australia and worked for AFL Victoria. So Mark was very familiar with the Auskick programs and how they worked. So I got also a lot of help from Mark. Yeah, but Dennis and the Bishops were really, really helpful in getting going.
So have you got your dates lined up for this year? Can you already tell the listeners where you're going to be and what week of the year?
We're going to start June 20, I believe. And we'll run the program in Arlington, Virginia. We'll run the program for 4 weeks 4 sessions over a 5-week period. We'll take an all-star break for the Independence Day. So we start the program as the Arlington youth soccer season finishes, and then we run it until everybody heads to the beach.
Nice. And also looking ahead, I assume you guys are hoping to bring full squads to both Eastern Regionals and Nationals.
So I don't know very much about what happens at the DC Eagles and the Baltimore Dockers. I believe both clubs will be looking to go to both nationals and the regionals. I think the Dockers had a great nationals last year. Ended up losing in the grand final. DC Eagles they're starting to turn things around, but they still have a ways to go. But I think they'll be sending both men's and women's squads. I was very excited. We had one of our players from the junior program play with the women at nationals and do a fantastic job, even though she's only a teenager.
Yeah, well, it's not only that, but your son CJ has gone on to play in a senior team as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, so CJ's at Minnesota Freeze. Last year, he spent the summer in Sydney. He was playing under 19s for the University of Sydney. He in 2018 he managed to win a Division II national championship with the Freeze, which was fantastic. As a dad, that's just awesome to watch your son kick a goal in the grand final. It's fantastic. This year, he nationals didn't go as planned. He did his ankle early on, but he got the Rising Star Award at the Freeze this year. So he loves that club. It's a great club, and I think hope for great things this year.
That's awesome, Chris. It's great to see someone who came through a junior program now playing senior football. I don't know of anyone else, to tell you the truth. I don't know everyone around the country. But it's awesome to be able to see that you've been able to lead him in the right direction and get to play not only here in the US in a premiership team, but also back in Australia as well. That's fantastic. So thanks, Chris, very much for joining us today on Outside 50. If anyone wants to look up more information about Saturday morning footy, where do they go?
satmorningfooty.com, or just Google Saturday morning footy, probably Washington DC, something like that, and then you'll find the contacts for me. And this is really fantastic, Rick and Kraz. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, appreciate it, Chris.
No worries, Chris. It's good to have you on, and good luck for the rest of the year. We'll maybe catch up just after your Saturday morning footy program this year and get a recap.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Outside 50 is brought to you with the help of Play Aussie USA. Play Aussie is the only place in the USA you can buy the famous Sharon football, a proud sponsor of the USAFL. Visit them at playaussie.com.